Hi, Heather.
Hey, Susie.
How are you?
I'm great. It's good to see you today.
Good to see you too. I feel like it should be a Thursday because we're always live Thursdays, but we're changing it up this week.
I know.
Schedule scheduling issues.
And the things like the slightest change always seems to throw me off too.
Yeah, same here. I'm like all off on what day it is, but that's okay.
And what time it
That's
is
okay.
and what's
And what
happening
time?
technologically. It's fine.
Exactly.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Yes, it's fine. How have you been doing?
I'm great.
Good.
I'm ready to start the conversation.
Yeah, me too. So we're doing something a little different this week. Rather than having a kind of a themed show, we thought we would just come on here and hang out. We'll probably talk about some topics narcissistic abuse related, but we really want to hear from our viewers and answer any questions that you guys have. So feel free if you're watching this live, if you're over on YouTube, you can drop in some comments, questions, whatever you want to do. I see we've got let me make sure I don't mispronounce it. Belizan? Is that how it's pronounced? Hi. Oh no, Luna. Luna's the first name. Hi, Luna. Let us know if you have any questions. And
Hi, Luna.
Heather, you're streaming
Yeah,
too.
we have a few viewers on Instagram over here. And like Susie said, her and I are both narcissistic abuse survivors. We are certified in trauma recovery. Susie is studying for her master's to become a therapist. And I am studying for my master's in Ayurvedic medicine. And the goal is to kind of help people eventually work into my practice, helping people through holistic medicine and balancing their nervous system. That's kind of long term, but
Yay.
our purpose today is to answer any questions that you may have related to healing from narcissistic abuse, leaving narcissistic relationships, co-parenting. Here recently, we've been delving into some court preparation things. And so that's what our live is today. It's just a free form. Ask us what you want to know.
Yes. And I see Luna says I don't know if you're, I'm sorry. I would assume, has a question. So feel free to ask that. I'll keep an eye out for your question. And anyone else who has questions, please let us know. I'm so excited about your studies too, by the way. That sounds amazing. And I think you'll be able to help so many people with that.
Thanks.
So,
I'm positive that we both will.
yeah, we will. We're just constantly learning and evolving. So, I see we do have a question that came in here. I'm trying to make sure I can see the whole thing. For some reason, it's not showing me your entire question, Luna. Um, I am not very tech savvy, clearly, but
Here.
I can't see.
Recently ended my relationship with a narc, kicked me out, etc. After 66 days of no contact, he hoovered me.
And I fell for it.
Now he keeps
No.
using my address and started mistreating me again. So I told him he needs to change his address. Good for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm gonna go back and just read this one more time. Recently ended after 60, he hoovered me and I fell for it. Now he keeps using my address and started mistreating me again. So I told him he needs to change his address. Yeah. So I think, did you
She's
join us
probably
last
getting
week?
around it to asking.
Yeah.
She comments the same way I text all of my friends.
Yeah. Yes. Same. I think maybe were you on last week, Luna? I don't remember for sure, but I know we talked to somebody or had a little bit of a chat with someone about the address specifically. So is he using your address to send mail or what's happening
It almost
with
sounds like he
that?
moved back in.
Yeah. And I guess I would also want to know how is he gaining access to you? How is he getting a hold of you? Is he contacting you via text? Is he calling you? Um, because we want to try to break that if you can, try to go no contact if you can, because they are very skilled at hoovering, we know. So it can be easy to kind of get sucked back into these situations. Um,
I
Luna
see it.
says, yeah, he's still using her address and lives with his sister. Okay.
I'll let you go first, Susie.
Okay. So if he's using your address for mail, and things being delivered there, I think you can just simply write return to sender, or just, I don't know, it's probably elite. Is it bad to throw away mail? It probably is. Um, but I would just send those right back, send them to the post office. Usually people need the things that come in the mail, so I'd imagine he would not want to run the risk of his mail getting completely lost or discarded. So return to sender. And then again, however he is reaching you, gaining access to you, we need to try to figure out how you can cut that off so that he doesn't have that power to get in touch with you. So, Heather, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, so a larger picture view, this is a very common tactic where narcissistic abusers, they leave breadcrumbs of opportunities to sneak back into our lives, or to be able to come in and out whenever they please to check on you. Whether it's because they want to know what's going on in your life, whether it's they want to attempt to hoover you back in. This is really common because it gives them a reason to stay in contact, right? To constantly remind you, I'm still here, and there's still an avenue back into open lines of communication. And so I would say, if it were me in this position, or if a client came to me and was asking, like, what should I do? I would return to sender. I would call the post office and say, this person doesn't live here anymore. The mail doesn't need to come here anymore. I would send one text message or email and say, your mail came to my house. I did this at the post office. I don't want any contact with you anymore. You need to change your address, or all of your mail's going in the trash from here on out. I think,
Yeah.
I mean, just to cover your grounds of not throwing away mail that could potentially be important. But at the same time, it's like holding someone accountable and letting them reap the consequences of what happens when you set a boundary and they don't follow through with respecting it. And so it's just being very clear cut. Like, I contacted the post office, I return this to sender, change your address or you're not getting your mail anymore. Like, that's the consequence. So that's my advice. And that's what I would tell a client if they were saying, I don't know what to do, because we typically aren't, like, we don't want to be deceitful. We don't want to cause any sort of trouble in other people's lives. But sometimes we go out of our way, and in effort to save someone else or to save them from having any sort of bad thing happen to them, or miscommunication or fine or whatever it may be coming in the mail. And we want to save them from that. And we think it's going to be our fault if it happens. And I think the biggest thing that we can do to work on here is to say, it is not my responsibility to save you from basic things, right? Like, when we move as adults, we know we need to change our damn address.
Right. Yes.
So
yeah, I think that's great advice. I love that. And Luna's saying he admitted he thought he was able to come back, and I said never again. Good job. That deserves high fives. High five. I love it. And I think we've got one more message here. He did say hang on one second. He did say he would change it, but don't believe him. Now that I told him on Monday, I've moved on to let me go. Should I expect to be bothered again, or am I finally free?
Yes, you're free. Let's set that precedence right now.
Yes. If you want to be free, you are free. Yeah, absolutely.
And with freedom comes power of choice. Does it mean you won't hear from them again? Probably not, right? If he refuses to change his address, probably not. And I think that one of the symptoms that we're left with in the aftermath of healing is feeling like it's our responsibility to fix it. Like, it's just we've I guess we've grown accustomed to walking on the eggshells for so long that our brains are hardwired to work around them, to fix problems for them. And something as simple as like the mail and knowing he has mail here now. Hey, you have mail. It's rewiring your brain to changing the way you see that. It's not your responsibility. Yes, you are free. You may hear from him again, but it doesn't mean that he's going to possess some sort of power over you and you have to go back, I guess, is where I'm going with that.
Right.
Sorry, Susie.
Absolutely. No, that's all very well said. And yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to people who are abusive or narcissistic, you need to be mindful of protecting yourself and expect them to continue to try to get a hold of you somehow. But the more you can stand firm, the more you protect yourself and cut off any form of contact he has with you, eventually he will have to turn his attention elsewhere, because narcissistic people, they need that source of supply, and he is viewing you right now as that source of supply, and he's clinging to whatever he can. In this case, it's your address and getting his mail sent there. So you had mentioned, Luna, that it's illegal to throw someone's mail away. So yeah, that's could be the case. I would say if you feel like you need to protect yourself and not do something like that, take it to the post office. You could always collect it, drop it off there. That way you can say, I didn't discard of any mail. This situation with the police, so you're saying the police said that as long as he has mail coming to your home, he can come into your home anytime. I don't think that's the case.
Where are you? Is she in the States?
Yeah, can you let us know if you're in the States or where you're located? If you're located outside of the United States. I don't know if there's any different rules anywhere. Okay.
Illinois.
She's in Illinois. I mean, I think legally the only way somebody could enter your home or be entitled to enter your home is if they are on the lease, right? Or on the mortgage, on the title.
What she's saying, there's probably some truth to what she's saying, and I'm going to speak to just some personal. Well, I didn't experience this personally. I saw this and witnessed this secondhand. There are, like, depending on where you are, sometimes there are like squatters' rights, and if they have mail coming to the home and they've been in the home for a certain period of time, they have something that's called squatters' rights. And they do have legal right to come into the home. You are probably going to want to talk to an attorney that may be pro bono or can just do a free consultation. What happened with a person, I worked with this person, and it was actually a guy. And what happened with him is he moved someone in temporarily to try to help her. And he ended up having to go find a hotel room temporarily and get her out of his apartment legally. And so it was almost like he had to go through this whole process of eviction, like what renters do to or what landlords have to go through with their tenants whenever they're evicted. It was something similar to that. So there may be a small piece of truth to that, but it doesn't mean it's forever. And if you have something in writing, like, this is why we talk so much about documentation. Document the day, the time, the date he left, and that you guys were no longer in a relationship, and how long he's been with his sister. That's number one. Number two, document the date that you told him that he needs to change his address. And then just if you're worried about throwing mail away or something, it's not illegal to lose it.
Right. Yeah. I lose my mail sometimes.
Sorry, that's probably bad advice. That's just kind of where I am with my tolerance for, immaturity and people who just refuse to respect boundaries. But I think that you probably need to do some legal research. It doesn't, just because he hasn't changed it doesn't mean that he has legal bounds, but if he's going to press it in that manner, make sure you have the documentation, make sure that you have the reports, and maybe just talk to somebody who'd be willing to give you like 30 minutes of their time.
Right.
This probably is a cut and dry case if you don't have kids and it was only temporary move-in situation. But you should be able to take care of it. It's a pain in the ass, but you can get it taken care of.
Right. She's saying that the cops have him on body cam when she kicked him out and he was vacating the premises. So
Okay.
I'm curious if the police were involved too, if you have do you have some sort of restraining order or order of protection? If something happened recently and you haven't filed for that, I would encourage you to do that. And that way that whole entry into the home would be, that would solve that issue.
Yeah.
And let's see here. Cops don't seem to be on my side at this point because he was abusive and they were going to allow him back in my home and he's a felon. Okay. Well, I would say just continue to be a squeaky wheel with the police. Don't let the fact or that feeling that you're not on their side deter you from protecting yourself and doing what you need to do. They have a job to do and they have a service to provide, and they should be, accommodating you if things come up concerning your safety and well-being. So,
yes.
But yeah, continue to protect yourself, continue to anticipate this could happen again so that you can avoid having to have, further contact with him.
Yeah, and we have some comments on Instagram. One in response to the user on Luna. So any restraining order or protection orders should prevent them from being able to get in the home. I agree with that. And then I have another question. From Amy. I'll get to that in just 1 second, Amy. And then it's so frustrating that they are protected in such a struggle. Yes. It happens.
Yes.
I think that's what discourages us the most is when we're in these situations. When we're in these situations, sometimes we're stigmatized. There's like this negative stigma to domestic violence calls, domestic abuse calls. And sometimes there are officers that look at us as if, we're encouraging it. We're part of the problem. We deserve it. Or, it wasn't a serious
It takes
call.
two to tango.
And I think the best advice I can give you is to stand in your power. Those people are always going to exist. As long as until we do enough work, right, socially, those people are going to exist and they're going to be a thorn in your side when it comes to trying to heal and reframe your mindset. So they, like Susie said, they have a job to do. It may make you feel uncomfortable if you feel like, you're bothering them, but our taxes pay their salary for them to provide that service. And so know your rights, stand firm in your truth, stand firm in your boundaries. That's going to be the most helpful for you, is to stand firm in your boundaries in this newfound solitude.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we go to Amy's question, just one last thing here from Luna. She said, I don't have enough to put in a restraining order. The cops told me. So the cops told you that you didn't have enough. And I would say to that, I don't believe that it's up to the police to make that decision. So I would recommend going to your local courthouse and talk with I think it's been a little while since I did this, but I think there's advocates there, people that specialize in domestic violence and who are the ones that would help you file for a restraining order. I think they would be the best people to talk to give you that guidance, whether or not you have enough. So the police are, from what I believe, is that right, Heather? From what you understand, the police wouldn't be the ones to make that decision. They don't.
Yeah.
At least, in Illinois, they are the ones.
The way it has worked, to my knowledge, the Qualifications for a judge to approve a restraining order vary across the states, but what seems similar in my experience is you go and you file the protective order and it's submitted through to a judge who looks at it and will either grant you a temporary restraining order until you can appear in court to figure out if it's going to stand or be dismissed. And so when you, in all honesty, I always recommend to people, if you think the risk exists, if you really do feel the need to have the restraining order, even if the judge doesn't grant it, in a lot of cases they don't, even if it's not granted, it is a piece of documentation that is recorded in the system. Even if it's not granted, it's there that you went in and you said, hi, I have a problem.
I don't feel safe.
Right. I have a problem. I want this person to stay away from me, away from my home, whatever the case is. And if it's not granted, it's not. But the fact is, you're going in however many times it takes to go in, and you have to have a reason every single time. It has to be something new, right? But do it. If you don't feel safe, do it. So, I mean, I've even had a client, I felt so bad for her. She went to file a restraining order, and before they could submit the paperwork, I think this is in Minnesota. Before they could file the paperwork, they had to go and talk to him first after he had already, attacked her in her home to get his side of the story, to the point where she was so terrified that that the paperwork wouldn't be submitted and she wouldn't have it, that she just told him to forget everything and ran out of there. And so I don't want anybody to ever feel unsafe, but just know that it will always be my opinion that if you feel unsafe, you need to go say something about it. Even if you need to go stay with a friend or a family member, go get that shit on paper, get it in the record.
Right. And sometimes it takes, again, being the squeaky wheel, being the biggest advocate for yourself. Yes. And if you get an answer that you don't like, see who else you can talk to as well. You have to do whatever you can to protect yourself and your peace. So, yeah.
And then Amy, I'm so sorry. I hope you're still here with us. So,
hi, Amy.
I have to go to court for my divorce at the end of the month. It's just a settlement hearing. Any tips? I have not seen him in a year, and I am extremely anxious about it. So, Amy, if you're still watching, I'm going to kind of answer generically, and then I'll let Susie chime in. But if you have any specific issues, typically in settlements, I think it's all worked out. Oh, hey, Amy, she's still here.
Oh, hi.
So typically in a settlement, I think it means that you guys have everything worked out. Well, that's not, if you have to appear in front of a judge, that's probably not true. So if you have anything specific, please share, and we'll elaborate on that a little bit. I will say that the most important thing for me and for clients that I've helped is to self-regulate, stay grounded. It's never fun appearing in court.
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah. She said he's not providing any financials, so that's going to be problematic.
That's common.
It is. It's very common.
Frustrating.
It's frustrating, but just to give you any glimmer of hope, just know that in the long run, these sort of acts of incompliance or resistance, or it's non-compliant basically, and in the long run, those sort of demonstrations directly to the court do not work well for them.
Right.
And in the end, it benefits you.
Yeah. He can only run and hide for so long.
Right. And so I would say, I would say write down 2 to 3 affirmations. And I know this probably sounds cheesy, but it works. If you write down a few affirmations, I typically tell people to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am deserving of I am deserving of this life. I'm deserving of these things that I'm asking for. I deserve these things. It's not too much of me to ask for this that's going to offer me peace. It's not too much. I do deserve this. I'm not asking for too much, and this will soon be over, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
that saying
Yeah.
to yourself, I'm not too much and I deserve these things. This isn't an overreaction. This is my right.
Yeah.
And being able to say that helps you stay grounded before you walk into the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also recommend having like any sort of like I got this. It's a ring with different stones that I like. I think it might
Mm-hmm.
be a moonstone. I can't remember,
That's
but
cool.
um what I would do, like if I didn't have pockets, I would have, if I had pockets, I would have like a stone. And when I would feel myself want to like block everything out, I would hold on to those stones and think, I am safe, I am present. And that, you know what I mean? That's kind of helps
Mm-hmm.
you come back and stay present in the courtroom. Or when I didn't, I would have this and I would kind of use it as an opportunity to, play with it on my finger, or it was just
Mm-hmm.
like a mental reminder of, stay here mentally, stay here emotionally, stay calm and stay regulated. And that's kind of how I stayed present in the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. It's great advice. I would echo all of that. I think that, like you said, just that nervous system dysregulation is such a big thing around these court dates. They're unnerving, they're stressful. So you have to be sure that you build in self-care, not only before you go in, but do something for yourself afterwards. And I also recommend have like a safe person that you feel comfortable talking with before you go in, just to kind of vent, decompress, and then circle back to that person or someone else who is a safe person for you to have that conversation with, because you need an outlet and you don't want to get triggered into saying something or having a conversation with your abuser in the courtroom, because they will try to do that. They'll try to trigger you, get a reaction. So it's important that you have some touch points with people who are safe for you before you go in and after you come out, and have some self-care for yourself too,
yep.
planned and ready to go. Um, yeah, it will be okay. You'll get through it. But we know there's so many emotions around those dates that we feel for you. Just need to really take care of yourself.
Yeah. And Amy, I don't
So,
know if you see in the comments that we have another Instagram user who's commenting in your support.
oh,
Um, I can't make out the username, but is it Gut Ikashroil? I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering that all to pieces, but they're saying try not to look in his direction.
hmm,
I like that one too. It's really hard not to, but I do. If you feel like I agree with that advice, don't look in that direction if you don't have to, especially if you think it's going to kind of make you sick to your stomach. And then they also said you probably or may break down after or feel very upset. You can do it. It's not easy at all. So it
yeah,
sounds like they're speaking from experience, and it's true.
hmm,
Um, just know that whenever you're finished, I mean, salt baths are amazing. Make sure you maybe invest in a nice tea. I love like
yeah,
nighttime teas or stress relief teas, or if you're a wine drinker, I used to have a glass of wine in a nice salt bath. Um,
hmm,
just make sure
yeah.
you have some self-care prepped for after as well. So I really like that
Book,
advice.
yeah, book a massage, something like that.
Yeah.
And just remind yourself that this is just a necessary step, and it's getting you one step closer to where you want to be.
Yep.
So unfortunately, we have to go through these things to sometimes break free, but we can speak from experience that it is 100% worth it. So this pain is it'll be worth it. So keep going. Somebody gave me a magnet when I was going through my divorce that said, I think it's a Winston Churchill quote, and it's, if you're going through hell, keep going. And it was inside my bathroom cabinet, and I would look at it every day. And it was just like that reminder to me that, yeah, this is really hellish,
Yeah,
But if I just keep going, it's going to end. It's going to come to a close at some point, and it will. So just remind yourself to keep going.
I agree. Also, Amy, if
Yeah.
you're still watching, I feel like I think I've talked to you in some of our previous lives, if I'm not mistaken. But if I am, make sure that you go join our Facebook group. It's
Oh, yeah.
we have it, you can go through my bio. It's called Rise and Thrive Women, and we because we'd love to stay connected. Susie and I go live once a month there in that it's a a Zoom link
Support group. Hmm.
for a support group for just people in that group that want to get to know us and have questions. That week or that monthly Zoom is totally free. And it's there for all of the users and members of that group to leverage. So we'd love to see you more, as well as the other user that is helping support Amy. We would love to
Yes.
have you as well.
Yes. I love hearing people support each other. It just
I know.
makes me so happy.
I need to see that in the world right now.
I know. Yeah. Kindness,
I need to see
empathy.
love in the world right now.
Yes, there's not enough of that going around, I feel like. So, have you seen any other questions or comments come through?
I don't, but I mean I do. I can elaborate if you want on some of the other stuff when it comes to court stuff.
Sure.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of people also do you have questions before I dive into
I
that?
don't. No, but I just yeah, just encourage you guys if you have questions, let us know. We're probably just on for another like 20 minutes maybe. So,
Yeah, and I
ask
don't see
away.
any questions on TikTok either. If you
Okay.
guys are watching, it's hard for me to kind of see my phone right now, but I can see the comment section on TikTok. I know I have this little rigged sign up here for my Instagram, but if you guys on TikTok have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will jump over here, and you can't see Susie. That's why I want you guys on Instagram, because Susie's over there with me and you can see both of us. But if you have questions and you prefer to ask them on TikTok, please feel free. So court, yes. Something else in terms of like a mind shift change. I think once we've been in relationships with narcissistic abusers for so long, we believe that everyone else thinks of us the same way that they think of us.
Mm,
Because those lies, like the gaslighting and changing and distorting our reality and how we view ourselves and how our abusers view us, it's almost as if it shifts our entire reality to where we think that everyone else also feels that way about us. And it's really important to become aware of when that
yeah.
happens, if it's happening to you. Because in a lot of cases, we walk into a courtroom intimidated, thinking that a judge is going to believe the lies. A judge or, their attorney is going to somehow manifest some sort of evidence that paints you in a light that simply isn't true or doesn't
Hmm.
exist.
Yeah.
A lot of them are full of allegations with no evidence to support it. And so it's really important that you try to reframe your mind, your state of mind, if you feel like, oh my gosh, what if the judge believes them? Even though there's no proof of these
Hmm.
accusations before you walk into a courtroom, there's still this like fear that the judge is going to side with them and believe them without any actual evidence. And so it kind of throws us off our game. And so I will say
Hmm.
one way to stay grounded is to maybe take a step back and kind of evaluate how you feel about going in the courtroom, and whether you're worried about people siding with someone who doesn't even have evidence to support their arguments.
Right.
So I think that that's important to talk about, because it really does help in terms of calming your nerves before you walk into a scary setting like a courtroom and a judge that's going to rule on everybody's life.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I remember having those fears. And even if it was something that had truth to it, some of the things that are threatened in these situations of bringing to light, I remember freaking out about I think my ex said that I played Candy Crush on my phone a lot, like that game, you know? And yeah, I would play it when my kids were little. I would play it when they were like falling asleep and stuff to just like decompress for the day. But I remember thinking, oh my God, what are they going to think about me playing this game? And it's like, really, that's not even something that anyone would like, that would weigh someone's decision in one way or another. So I think we tend to,
I'm really
what's the
glad you
word?
shared that, Susie. It's
Yeah.
just because it is really simple things like that that get in our head where we think
Right.
that it's going to make like
It's going to be so detrimental. We like catastrophize. Is that a word? Catastrophize the
yeah, it's a word
these
here.
things. Yeah, it is here too. Yeah. So I like that idea. Stay grounded, and that's where it does help too to have those people to talk to outside who are removed from the situation, who can objectively say, "Calm down. It's okay. You don't need to be worried about this.
All right.
You'll be fine." So yeah, for sure.
Do you have any other here? I guess I need to. I'm not even in the studio because I was trying to skim through my Instagram comments.
Yeah, I just had another question come through about trauma bonds. Yes, Luna, we love to talk about trauma bonds. It's like our jam. We actually did a workshop on trauma bonds. When was that? Was that last month, or was
last month? Yeah, because we have one coming up next month.
It feels like forever ago because January was like the longest month in history. So yeah, Heather and I like to talk. Is there anything specific that you want to know about trauma bonds? Otherwise, we can just talk about what a trauma bond is. So let us know, Luna, if you have any specific questions. I'll go ahead and just talk about what a trauma bond is. So a trauma bond is basically like, it's not unlike a substance use addiction, and it's created from the cyclical nature of these abusive relationships. So when you're in an abusive relationship, you're constantly experiencing these really high highs when things are good, when the abuser is trying to get back in good graces and love bomb you into, staying in the relationship or trying to convince you that they've changed. You experience these really high highs, but you also experience extremely low lows when you're in that active abuse. So it's that the high and lows that are producing chemicals, that your body produces chemicals while that's going on. So when you're in the abuse state, your body produces the stress hormone called cortisol. When things feel good, your body's producing those feel good hormones like serotonin and dopamine that come from intimacy and pleasure and all those things. So I guess the fluctuation and the extreme levels of those different chemicals your body is putting out just solidifies that connection with your abuser, and it creates an addiction in your body where, even though logically things are not good, I shouldn't be treated this way, you continue to hold out for those good moments because they feel so good compared to the bad times. So that's how oftentimes we get entrenched in these relationships, and it's so difficult to leave because it's not unlike having an addiction. Heather, anything to add in terms of what a trauma bond is? And maybe we can talk a little bit about how to break a trauma bond.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's just important to understand it. It's, I guess, when we talk about it, when we talk about the cycles, I think it's just learning to kind of take that in and apply it to your personal situation. I think the hardest part about breaking trauma bonds is getting people to wrap their mind around, the magnitude of what it does to the chemistry that we have in our brain, and getting them to accept and apply it to their personal being and becoming more aware, right? Because until you really accept it and become aware of it, you can't really you can't really break free from it. Right. If you don't identify with being in one. It's like a drug addiction. If you don't think that you can have a problem and you can quit at any time, you're not ready for recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing I would add. I mean, Susie's explanation is spot on. It's just bringing into your awareness of what it really means, like grasping.
Right.
Like, this is an addiction that I have to this person. So,
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Um, I'm just going to pull up this other comment here. So Luna says, okay, now it all makes sense. We have done this dance so many times, but this is the first time I've told him I've moved on and to let me go after seeing him last time. He didn't look the same to me. I'm done. Yeah, it sounds like you have definitely made up your mind, and that comes through strongly. And I think that's great that you have sent that clear message that you're done. Um, like we said kind of early on, a really huge critical part, like Heather mentioned, the knowledge piece. First and foremost, when it comes to a trauma bond, you need to understand what it is you're experiencing. The illusion shatters. Yes.
that's what
Sounds
she
like
was
the
saying. Sorry,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Susie. I didn't want to cut
The
you off,
no,
but
fine. Yes. The illusion of who he portrayed himself to be has shattered, it sounds like, Luna. So you see him for who he is, and the first step in breaking a trauma bond, like Heather said, is just knowing what it is and what's happening inside your body, and learning to know what your triggers are. And I would tell you, seeing him, talking to him, seeing text messages for him are a trigger, and it stirs up those chemicals in your brain again, and it kind of starts that whole breaking the cycle process over. So that's why it's so important that you do cut off contact, make yourself inaccessible to him, because him contacting you is preventing you from being able to heal and move forward. So, and preventing you from being able to break that bond. So we got to find a way for him to not be able to access you at all. What else? I'm trying to think other advice. So just knowledge about trauma bonds is important to breaking them. Going no contact is critical to breaking a trauma bond. What else would you say, Heather, is important to try to break that trauma bond?
paying
And I'll think about it.
attention, yeah, paying attention to your body. I was thinking about rewording that, but I think one of the hardest parts when you're breaking a trauma bond is going through that withdrawal phase of, because as we've mentioned, it rewires the chemistry in our brain. And I mean, similarly to what I was talking about earlier, like we're trained to think it's our responsibility to act. We're trained to think it's our responsibility to fix this. And we're so focused on this other person and worried about how this other person is going to impact us, worried about how this other person is going to come back into our lives, when in reality, we need to shift the focus off of the abuser. I mean, stay safe, do what you need to do to make sure that you're physically safe. But I think paying attention to how you feel in your body when you start to feel uncomfortable and you start going through that withdrawal phase and you're wanting to reach out, or you're longing to be consoled, or you're longing for connection, and realizing that they aren't the answer to make, they may be a short-term fix in terms of like, if you go hook up with them, you might get that boost of dopamine and feel great for a little bit, but just like a drug addiction, you get high for a little bit and then you go right back down and you feel low and you got to start all over.
Right.
And
Right.
so I think that I would say understanding that you're going to feel uncomfortable, the uncomfortableness is temporary, and the key to breaking the trauma bond is knowing that it's going to be uncomfortable for a little bit, but trying other things to soothe yourself that are healthy for you, that don't involve worrying about like this external person that's going to do all of these things that could potentially make your life hell. And focus on yourself, focus how you're feeling, welcome it, allow it, and then find solutions to soothe those uncomfortable feelings as you're going through breaking it.
For sure. Yes.
Sorry, I'm talking too much.
No, not at all. So many good things. Luna says, yes, I'm dealing with the pain now and healing. Do you both do one-on-one? Unfortunately, this is not the first time being with a narc, but this time I'm doing healing differently. And I think that's awesome. And to answer your question, yes, we do. Heather and I are both certified trauma recovery coaches, and studying for further education down the path to be able to support people. So we would both be happy to chat with you, and I could drop Luna, I could drop links to Heather and my Calendly so that you could book just a free 30-minute discovery call with each of us, and kind of decide, who's the best fit for you. Or Heather and I have never done joint sessions before, but yeah,
we're working on something though.
we are. We're working on a really cool platform where people will be able to come in and get resources and work with us and things like that. So more to come on that. But if you want to just come back to this video, I will drop in. I'm going to make myself a note. I'll drop in. Are you okay with that, Heather? Dropping our, because she's coming to us from YouTube. So I'll put our Calendlys in. I have it in some of my other videos, but I will put that in here, Luna, so you could go back and book time with us if you would like.
Yeah, and just so you know, you can't get that link anywhere else. I don't have those free sessions or discovery calls on my website anywhere. So
okay.
Thank you for joining us here, Luna.
Yeah, and check out our Rise and Thrive Women's group as well over on Facebook if you're on Facebook. If you search Rise and Thrive Women, you'll find our group there. We would love to have you in there too, because you can ask questions like this. There's a lot of women in there who have been through these situations who provide great advice and have very similar situations. So go check that out. And you're very welcome.
And one day, maybe you could help be their guide. Right.
Yeah,
that's what we're trying to build is you're here now, but you're not going to be here forever. And we need people that are going through this process that can kind of come back and help the new people that join in a year, get, on the same track. So we'd love to have you.
Yes, for sure. And thank you. We appreciate you being here and are happy to go live. We probably should do this more often, just answering people's questions, because there's a lot. Everyone's situations are so different. So thank you for being here,
Maybe we'll do this once a month.
Yeah, I feel like we should, for sure.
Oh, let me
Any other things coming through?
No, Amy said he is a business owner in the community and adored by everyone. Yes, that's also common too.
Yeah.
My fear is that they will believe him. So in the court of law, I'm trying to be careful what I say, because I know corruption is a thing, and making sure that you have the right attorney is important. When you live in those, smaller towns, they can't help it because everybody knows everybody. I don't know if that's your situation, but it sounds like he's somewhat known in the community. But just know that the court of law is a completely different ballgame. They likely don't know who he is. So you may have that going for you. Just because he's well known in the community doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be well known or liked or sided with in the courtroom. And in the court of law, you have to have evidence to support your claims, to fight for whatever you are fighting for. So,
right.
And in most cases, anyway, I'm not saying that corruption doesn't exist. It does, but I also don't want anybody to be fearful, because most of the time, I like to think that judges are doing what they're supposed to do, and ruling in favor of the law. And they typically focus on the best interest of the kids versus anything else. That's typically the area of focus. So,
right. Yep. And then just remember, at the end of the day, all you can control is yourself and what information you put out there. We can't control other people's opinions or the fact that your ex is presenting himself as this amazing citizen and person.
Right.
So try to remember that and not let the worry of what other people think or how he's presenting himself be a total energy suck for you, because it can turn into that, where we just worry so much and we think about what do they think, and ultimately it's a huge drain, and you need all the energy and peace of mind that you can possibly get.
Yep. Stay focused on your strategy, know exactly what you want, and stick to that.
Yes.
Stick to that.
And circling back to what you said at the beginning, stand firm in the fact that that's what you deserve too.
Yes.
Because you'll be made to believe otherwise, but stand firm in the truth. Anything else that's come up?
No.
No.
We've got a few new viewers, but if anybody on TikTok has any questions, let me know. Hang on, it's giving me some weird. There we go. I don't know. It was giving me some weird puzzle to do. So if anybody on TikTok has any questions, I think we're probably wrapping up here. But I see that we do still have viewers. So I'm hoping that you can hear what Susie's saying here on my desk. If you haven't, feel free to ask any questions regarding narcissistic abuse, healing, dealing, co-parenting.
Divorce. Yeah, co-parenting. That's another one we haven't touched on today.
All right.
And let us know if you like these too. If you're, watching on the various platforms and we post a video, if you want us to do more of these, let us know. Because we can definitely do this once a month, like you were saying, and just answer questions. So, all right.
That takes a little pressure off of us to plan too.
I know, right?
I think we should just do it. Yeah, I think we should just make the decision and do it. Okay. Hey guys, you heard it. Once a month we're gonna go, or once a month we are gonna do a Ask Us Anything. So
yay. So fun. Luna says she would love more lives. Noted. We do go live 4 times a month, Luna. We share this schedule within our Rise and Thrive group. So we typically we go live every Thursday from 12:30 to 1:30 Eastern time. We have guests on 2 of those 4 times of the month, and then the other 2, it's Heather and I. I was going to say but I don't want to minimize, us, because we got a lot of knowledge to drop. So look out for our lives. If you subscribe to my channel, if you follow Heather, you'll be made aware. We publish when we're going to go live. So we'd love to see more of you and hear more from you too. All right. Oh, you found me on Meetup. Awesome. That makes sense since you're in Illinois.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, my local group.
That's why she's in Illinois. She found you on
We do in person. Yeah, I don't know where you are in Illinois, but we meet monthly at a coffee shop in St. Charles. So if you're interested in meeting up live, I think my next one is the 20. I don't know. It's in Meetup. You'll see the next event. We do them once a month. So awesome. All right, Heather. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we should probably wrap up. I've got to pick up my kids. I know you got kids to pick up too. So
okay.
It's early dismissal, my favorite day of the week. All right.
All right. No, we don't have any questions. None on TikTok, none on Instagram. We just have some people peeking in and listening. So thanks for hanging out with us, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Take care till next time. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks, Heather. Bye.